The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my show, and I am so excited about my guest. I know I say it every week, but that's because I am. I am so excited for my guest today. It is Roy Jarmon, and how are you today? I unmute yourself. How are you today?
Hi there. Hi there. I'm fine. And
Uh,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Well,
And
thank
I
you.
am
I'm excited to be here. I want to thank you very much for having me.
not a problem at all. And what I'm going to do now, I received his bio, and let me tell you, his bio could take the whole show. But I'm not going to read everything that's on it because we're going to talk about it. But let me start by just sharing who Roy Lee Jarmon, also known as Simon, is. Roy Jarmon was born in Greenfield, Mississippi. Roy is the second child of 11 children born to the late George and Minnie Bell Jarmon. He graduated in 1968 from O'Bannon High School. He attended Jackson State University, in which he had a scholarship. He traveled to Delray Beach in Florida after a few years in college. While in Florida, he worked for the city working on the beach. Roy enlisted into the Army in 1970. He did his basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Roy served his country fighting in the Vietnam War in 1971. After the Army, Roy worked various jobs while attending school at night. He graduated from Mississippi Valley State as summa cum laude. Thank you. Oh, congratulations on that. While in college, AT&T started recruiting and he secured an interview bringing him to New Jersey. He retired from AT&T in 2002 after 20 years of service. Roy met Audrey, his second wife, and they were married in 2010. The poems in Circle of Life are in dedication to and inspired by his first wife, Rochelle Cato, who lost her long battle with breast cancer in 2005. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank
being diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder only a few years before losing his wife, Roy turned to poetry as his therapeutic medicine to be used as a means of pulling himself out of his foxhole. Roy describes each piece within the book as a collection of steps, which gives him small victories while walking on the road of life. Roy's piece in the book called Beneath the Old Oak makes reference to the sturdy sanctuary underneath one unique tree against the troves of pines. And he's going to be sharing that poem as we get into this program. Now, his first book, Poetry by Simon, Volume 1, Family Foundations, provided a slice of life's excursions. His second book, Poetry by Simon, Circle of Life. And I could go on and on and on. Let me also say he's performed at the Barron Art Center in Woodbridge, New Jersey, with
you.
Laura Voss, a national award winning poet who was the first prize winner in Poetry Society of America's Gordon Barber Poetry Contest. He attends Hallelujah Christian Fellowship, where he and his wife Audrey are involved in the church. He is the proud father of two and has two grandchildren. Roy currently lives in Piscataway, New Jersey. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Now we have a whole list of your performances and what
Wow,
have you,
wow.
but I am going to give you the floor and give you an opportunity to tell our audience a little bit about your journey and how is it that you got from from where you've come, being 11 children in your family. Oh my goodness. And also, thank you for serving in the military. God bless you for your service. And so I'm going to shut up and give you the floor and let you just share with our audience.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction. I was wondering. I said, "Oh, I had forgotten part of a lot of that stuff you were talking about." I said, "Wow, where did she get all of that?" I don't know if you you must be psychic or something. But anyway, oh man, hey, thank you for having me. I do appreciate you allowed me to be here. Um, I want to say my journey is not what I thought it would be, but uh, it's what I think it should have been. I beginning to understand how the Lord, how God waves this tapestry of life's experiences and slices of life and put them together and create who you are, who I am, and how I've come to realize my purpose. And I think that's the ultimate goal that a person should be seeking. What's their purpose? What's their dream? Uh, I can recall when I was a young kid, I loved books and I love poetry. And at this point, poetry has become my saving grace, per se, as God had brought me. Uh, and I think I started trying to write poetry during my, I guess it was probably during my college days years ago, and got away from it. After I went to the service, I went into the Army, Vietnam, and all of that stuff. When I got back, I never really, um, I guess, reacclimated from the military life into civilian life, and all of that stuff stayed in my head. And I did a lot of self-medicating and had some problems with comprehension with all of these things going on. And eventually, I was diagnosed with PTSD, which is a post-traumatic stress disorder, which a lot of veterans. You don't have to be a veteran to experience this, but know a lot of veterans who have and who does experience it. And so, as part of my therapy, along with prayer, a lot of prayer, uh, I attended this therapy group and I began to write. And my poetry and short stories started coming together. And that was the way that sort of put everything out. Because basically, what you do when you're in that situation, you sort of isolate yourself. You become a loner. You you're afraid of a lot of things. Not that you're just scared all the time, but you are aware. You are what they call the name for it is called hypervigilant. You're always looking around, trying to see what's going to happen, trying to figure out all types of situations. And that weighed on me quite a bit. And it led to these three books as my therapy. And the books themselves became a platform for me to talk to others. And after I started uh, writing my books and putting things out, I started being able to be around people more and to go out. And oh man, I was just intimidated. You go into places, you just, so, and I wanted to kind of inspire others to say, look, uh, wherever you are in life, that's where you're supposed to be, but you're not supposed to stay there. And the
Amen.
fact of the matter is that as I write and experience and tell my stories and my poems, hopefully sometimes it's just a slice of life of where you are and how to get where you need to be. And so I'm hoping to inspire certain people to uh, try something else, to get out of that. Talking to myself, especially, to get out of that comfort zone. And a lot of times, I like on certain place times like the Fourth of July, I'm not out looking for the explosions because I've had enough of that. Now there are some people who just run to it. Yeah, I try to get away from it as far as I can. But you have to find your own niche in life and where you are and how to cope and to be more vigilant in how you want to live your life. So
Yes.
that's what I've done. I've tried to speak to different places and try to encourage others. And so I work with the VFW, which is the Veteran of Foreign Wars, excuse me, to help other veterans. And I also work with the DAV, which is the Disabled American Veterans, to try to encourage people. The group that I'm with there, I mean, they do some wonderful jobs with the other veterans and in the community and so forth. And so I work quite a bit with the veterans, and you know, my whole life now is to try to live day to day, be the best that I can, and to try to help someone to be who they can be, to bring them
Amen.
up, to lift them up.
Amen.
We got enough downers out there. We need
Yes.
we need more inspirational people to pick people up.
Yes.
So
Amen.
that,
And you
that
know, you
that's been my purpose.
that's awesome. And you know, you talked about PSTD and with the pandemic and all the thing and everything
Oh
that's going on in our world, in our country, within our
yes,
families, that is something that is prevalent now in our society where people are
exactly.
suffering from post-traumatic stress, and
Yes, yes,
writing
yes.
can be an excellent outlet for expressing, for getting your feelings out. You know, being a poet myself and having started at an early age, I
Mhm.
understand exactly what you're saying in terms of being able to release and just let your words speak through your poetry,
Right,
and it's
exactly.
healing, it's cathartic, and it not
Yes,
only is healing for you, but it's healing for others, because once
for
they
others,
understand
yes.
your pain, then they might be able to
Mhm.
better understand their own. And with that, I'm going to ask you to begin to share some of your work with us. And I'd like to do it in chronological order, starting with
Okay.
the poem that was in your first book. I think about the oak. Is that the one
Okay.
that was in the first book?
No, the one in my first book is called oh was all we could afford. My first book, it was when I began to the reason I called it Family Foundation is that my father dedicated it to my father and my godfather, who grew up on the plantations in Mississippi, and
Mm.
we were I guess we can say poor, but I don't
You
I
had
don't know if
love,
we
so you
used
didn't even know it.
we, yeah we didn't realize how poor we were. We realized that we didn't have a lot. We knew that we had make do things and so forth. But my father instilled in me in us. I say I'll protect you with my life as
Mm,
long as you don't lie, cheat, and steal.
wow,
And that
beautiful.
was one of the things that he taught us. And that integrity, I mean, it just sort of like just grabbed me throughout my life. Excuse me. And so one of the first poems one of the poems in my book is called "All We Could Afford," and it's dedicated to my father who instilled in us that. And I'll share that with you at this point. It's called "All We Could Afford." At times I peer into the past when I was just a small lad, and I think of the jeers and the sneers thrown into my face. Shoes too large or too old, run over hill or no sole, no hem pants above the ankles and a snag on one of the knees. And I was always in some kind of a tangle. I had no hanky when I sneezed. A brand new jacket I found. It was just lying around, and although the jacket had been worn and one of the sleeves were torn, I loudly replied, "A brand new jacket." Sometimes we kids was fussing, sometimes there were fights, and sometimes we had no lights except a homemade tallow candle. See, Dad worked the whole year round from sun up to sundown. Yet there wasn't enough money to go to town to get food for the table. We just weren't able. I broke the handle off my glasses, I mean, snatched right off the frame. But Dad, some wires and a pair of pliers, boy, he made them brand new again. And I found an old radio, but beneath some old clothes that had molded. Boy, Dad was going to give me a lash. And I not mention I found it in the trash because he thought it had been stolen. See, Dad had made us live through the measles, the chicken pox, the whooping cough, through the cardboard window panes and the rats playing in the loft. Man, let me tell you, and this ain't no jive. There's only one thing that kept us alive. Ain't no way we could have survived had it not been for Daddy's love. Because sometimes that's all we could afford. Thank you.
Wow. 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 Let me snap, snap, snap. That was, oh my God, that was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I have to say, as I was listening to your voice, that guy that sings Rainy Night in Georgia? Remember that? I
Oh,
can't remember his name, but your voice sounds so much
yeah.
sounds so
Oh,
much
yeah.
like it.
Rainy
You have
night. And
yeah, yeah, yeah. You have a
thank you. Yeah, I
beautiful,
know it.
beautiful voice. The
Well,
resonance of
thank
your
you.
voice is really beautiful. And
Thank you.
and you are a true storyteller. And I
Oh,
love the way that you shared that. And to think, all the things that you went through, and you were able to capture that through poetic beauty, through your words. Just absolutely phenomenal. And you talked about, now there were pieces and parts in that poem. I'd like for you to kind of share your experience with some of the things that you talked about, particularly when you mentioned so, almost not quite, but almost like injustice. And then we've got a guest here. Let's see what she's saying. Hi, Diane. This is my aunt. She says, Vera, that sounds like Uncle Percy fixing things. Yes, it does. Yes, yeah, the eyeglasses
thank you.
and the pliers. Yes, yes, yes.
Piece
You
of
had to make
wire.
do with what you had. Absolutely. And
Yes.
okay, and she said Benson. George Benson. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think you're
Oh,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. That's it. That's
yes,
it. Yeah. Oh,
yes,
yeah. I remember the song. Oh, beautiful song too. I love that
yes,
song.
yes, yes.
Rainy night
So
in Joy. Oh, yeah.
rainy
Rainy
night
night
in
in
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yes, yes. Uh, and so, yes, that poem definitely brings back memories in my household where my stepfather would try to pull stuff together, fix things. He was a little tinkerer, he would tinkle and different things and fix stuff. He was always fixing stuff. So
Oh
that
yes,
poem
no doubt.
is reminiscent of that. That's awesome.
Yes,
So, okay, so back to
yeah.
my question.
Oh yeah, I can remember sometimes, like in the windows, you couldn't see out of the windows because it was cardboard. Uh, I can recall that, we would take flour and we would mix it together. My father would take the flour and make paste out of it, would put it on newspaper and put it on the wood on the walls to keep, to cover up the cracks and things so the wind wouldn't come in. And I could lie in the bed and read the news on the wall.
Yes.
And we would get the newspapers from the people in the plantation. They would uh, get their papers and they would throw them away. I was working on a poem once about called China Plate, and where the little white girl was putting garbage out, and the garbage had these plates in it. Beautiful plates. We didn't have plates. We had pans and stuff. And I said, "You throwing these away?" She said, "Yeah, some of them are cracked." And I said, "Shoot, we got." I got those plates and things and took them home, and everybody said, "I want to eat out of the new plate. I want to eat out of this." Some of the plates that had chips in them and cracks and stuff. But we had to make do. We had to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and
And that's a perfect
so
example. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, father used to go to the woods and cut down trees and stuff to bring home the wood for the fireplace and for the wooden stove, and we had pump water. You had to pump that. Oh, that water was rough. We didn't really know how bad that water was until later. But
Do
uh,
what you have to do.
yes,
But the
we do.
and the thing that resonates among us as a people
Mm,
is though we had little, we had a lot of love.
yes,
And
yes,
and that's why we are such compassionate, empathetic, genuine, caring
right,
people, because we learned that growing up. It's an innate part of us as a people. And that resonated in that poem that you shared, the love that
right.
was in your family.
Yes,
You may not have had
the love.
much, you may have even
We
been
had each
considered
other. Yes,
poor, but you were rich in love, rich in
yes, yes.
integrity, rich in knowing how to treat people. Beautiful, beautiful.
Right. That's so important, and it seems like it's lost today. Treating how to treat people, and even though I almost don't hate to get into this conversation, but being raised in Mississippi on the plantation and seeing how life is today and how all these different situations and fashions and stuff are working, it breaks your heart that in the when I was in army in Vietnam, we were we had a situation where we had the white on one side and the black on the other side,
Wow.
and we would talk. We would be fussing and discussing things. But then it seemed like I began to start talking to the people in my platoon and my group and so forth, and I kind of I think I gained the confidence and the reality and showing the other people in the group who not like me that look, we're all in this thing together. Because I had one guy there before he left there, when he first saw me, he wouldn't even get close to me. He's from
Mm,
Illinois, one of the outside places and conforming places, Illinois. But before I left there, that man, he would give me the shirt off his back,
And
and
see,
when we would go out on ambush, and I became a sergeant there, he requested to be in my group
wow.
instead of being in the other groups and stuff. And he became like a shadow, because he told me I was the first really black person that he really came close to or that talked to. So when they coming down the street, he would see them, they would go on the other side. And all he knew about black people was what he heard. They all do this, they all carry knives, they all do this. And but I was willing to talk to them, you know. But some people you can talk to, and I guess some you can't. And
But the
all
thing is, the reason that we have all this stuff happening is because people fear what is unfamiliar to them. And
yes,
by when we embrace each other and our races and understand
mm,
that we're all in the same boat. We
yes,
all care about our families. We want them to be the best. We want to do the best. And when we
right,
understand that we have more things in common than we have not so much. You know what I'm saying? Skin
right,
color is the
exactly,
only thing that sets us apart. Other than that, we all have the same needs, desires, and ambitions. We all want to do better, be better. And so the unfamiliar is we that's what we need to attack. That's what we need to address. Being able to learn about each other. And I could get on a soapbox about this, but I won't. I'll refrain. I'll contain myself because it is an issue that is dear to my heart. We got to show more love towards each other and in this society because if we don't, we're going to implode. But so much for that. Let's get
right.
back to your poetry. Let's go to
Yes,
book
yes.
number 2. Okay.
Book number 2 is Poetry by Simon, Volume 2. It's called Circle of Life, the Virgil Cato Experience. In this book, I dedicated it to my first wife, who passed away from breast cancer. Man, I'm telling you, I learned so much from that lady. Excuse me, how she dealt with it and so forth, and how, and which seems so unfair. She never smoked. She never, you know, she didn't drink, and she was a master teacher at AT&T. She taught the high class executives subjects on about uh, racism, diversity, and all of that. She traveled the whole United States teaching them how to get along with each other and black people in their environment. And she was consummate on that organ. But she would get in the church on Sunday, and sometimes they wouldn't, some of the songs you wouldn't sing, she would just play. Boy, that organ be talking to. Oh Lord, how much I missed that. But anyway, she'd make that organ talk, and she had this
Wow.
infectious laugh. And when she started laughing, everybody around her just started laughing. They started looking and laughing. And after a while, everybody's laughing. So she had that effect on people. And she was. I remember we went to buy a car, and naturally, I was looking for this nice little coupe thing, and she saw the minivan. She said, "Hey, let's get the minivan." I said, "What do we do with a minivan?" She said, "Then I can take my she was the president of what they call it, the missionaries, and most all the missionaries were elderly ladies. She said, "Then I can
Yeah.
take all my missionaries around." And I'm saying she ain't thinking about us; she's thinking about everybody except us.
Oh my
But
goodness.
man, We had a lot of we used to have like sometime after Sunday, the house would be full of kids, and they would come by, in church sometimes, and we would talk about the Bible, talk about life, and we would talk about who you need to be, who you want to be, inspired and inspirational, and so forth. But anyway, I digress on that. But anyway, that book was written to her, was dedicated to her,
Well,
and I
she
have some
sounds like
things
a
in it.
phenomenal woman.
Oh man, she was. But the poem, and that's what that's the book that the poem is in, beneath the old oak. And but it's not dealing with her per se. It's more like a I would call it a sort of a love, the unrequited or something like that.
Well,
But
let's
anyway,
hear it. Let's hear it.
it's one oak tree on this hill where all the pine trees are, and this is where this couple meet beneath the old oak. The tall, slender, scarcely planted pines stood lifeless on the hillside, but made the air heavy and dense with the quiet smell of their souls. As I brooded beneath the large, drooped, aged, lone oak that stood so proudly there, I thought of her and whispered to myself, I love you. Oh, I love you. Then, when the bobbing of her head darted upon the face of the moon, immediately I ran in a flash towards her while the white moonlight and gray shadows played psychedelic pattern upon my casual wear. I streaked toward her with superhuman speed while the wind tore around the edges of my glasses and snatched from my eyes the tears of joy. As the thoughts of my reasons for living raced ahead of me, I heard the thundering shouting of my heart saying, I love you so dearly and so deeply. While the distance between us slowly decreased, the tail of her gown waved at her back as if some desperate, almost weightless creature held a firm hand at its hem. I whirled her dizzily in a circle while my arms were securely around her waist, while we tightly held my neck, and she eagerly kissed me randomly about my face with a hot, moist mouth. I gushed in a deep throated groan, I love you, my darling. Slowly we strolled hand in hand, heads up high, from the desperate but same emotions of frantic love. We gently rolled among the lightly damp coolness of the dew and the unseeing eyes of the light shadows. I could hear the still noises, the loud silence of romantic squeals, the light darkness of feminine gasp, and the brightness of a throated moan. I love you. I love you. I love you. Oh, the smile that old oak must have made as I held it tightly in my arms and squeezed it while she gaily skipped and ran down the hill. At the top, she turned and waved and threw a big kiss. I waved joyously and hollered at the top of my lungs, I love you! Not knowing that this would be the last time that I'd see her.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. And as you were describing your wife, your my aunt, she says, sounds like Aunt Murtis, who was my mother, and she
Oh,
passed at the age of 44 of breast cancer.
mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so, your
Sorry.
wife sounds a lot like my mom. And
Right.
she was a teacher, she was a pastor's wife, a piece of
Mm.
my aunt's heart. And my mother was a musician as well, and she played the piano.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, yes, she could
I'm in
make the
good
piano
company.
touch. Yeah. Yes. So, hearing about her just really brought back memories for us. So that oak
Mm,
tree, that's a beautiful ode of love. Beautiful,
that,
beautiful.
mm,
Absolutely beautiful.
thank you. Thank you.
And you know what? I'm going to have to pause for a minute and acknowledge my sponsors. So we will be right back. Let me pull up one now, and we will be right back.
Okay.
Miss Mac, million dollar maker, Miss Mac marketing. 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 Make your dreams.
If you are a business owner or entrepreneur and you're looking for a way to share your mission, your purpose, your products and services literally with the world faster, safer, and easier, making your brand accessible to millions from the comfort of your home, well, I want to encourage you to join our Learn How to Start a Podcast and Monetize It class. Why? Is because this was designed for entrepreneurs like yourself as a platform to provide you with the knowledge in order to not only start a podcast, but successfully launch it. And then the third key, which is helping you to understand how you can monetize your podcast. As you are impacting the world with good, you can also build multiple streams of income from this one podcast and share your story, mission, and purpose literally with the world. So on today, I want you to go ahead and click CoachTinaRamsey.com to join our podcast class today.
I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Miss Mag Marketing and CTR. Oh my goodness. CTR Network, Media Network, Dr. Coach Tina Ramsey, and Success Express. All right. So, and I'm going to have to learn to say more about these are my sponsors. I thank them for being sponsors for my show. And I do want my audience to please check them out and let them know that they heard it on the Vera Thomas show. All right. Now back to you and our poetry. I'd like for you to share some other things that will resonate with our audience, that will help encourage or inspire or motivate. I'm going to give you the floor again.
Well, I would like to say at this point in time, we as citizens of this country, we complain about a lot of things. But I wanna ask the question: while you're complaining, what are you doing? I was listening, thinking about an old. Uh, Matter of fact, I think I had it here. I was not. I was looking at an old. I don't have it at this point, but it was about a ship, the ship in the lighthouse situation. The U.S. Navy guys saw this big light and said, "Look, you got to move." He thought it was another ship. He said, "You got to move over a little bit, few degrees, or we're gonna crash." And he got the answer back. Said, "No, I think you better move." He said, "No, I'm telling you now, you got to move, or we going to crash into each other." He said, "No, I got to." And he said, "No, I'm telling you, no, you gonna have to move." So he started putting his chest out and said, "Look, this is the U.S. Naval Aircraft Carrier, and so and so, and we got this and we got that, and I suggest that you move." And the knight came in and came back and said, "Look, this is a lighthouse. Now, it's in your head. What are you going to do now?"
Love it.
And see, and that's what we're doing. We we're sitting back complaining about the small things. Our democracy is about to crash.
Yes.
If we
Yes.
don't do something
Yes.
about the basics. Now, we want to hold up the world, but you got to have something to stand on. If you
Amen.
don't have a solid foundation to stand on, you ain't you. It's gonna all come crashing down, and
Yes.
that's our problem. We are afraid to. We I don't know if it's afraid or we don't want to. We just refuse to create a foundation that's gonna hold. Now we don't want to make them mad. Well, they're already mad. They coming after you with guns and things that destroy. They are after to. They are here to destroy you, the country, this democracy that we stand for. I didn't put my life on the line to come back and be treated like I did. But when I came back, I mean, I had a military mentality, and anybody who approached me, they were going to um, get treated in a military fashion. But over the years and life and prayer and meditation therapy, I realized that, uh, that's not all there is. And when you see people that's coming at you militarily, trying to destroy you, that's all they know. It may
So
not
how do
be
you
all they
deal
know,
with
but
it?
that's
So what would you
there.
suggest when we see this stuff happening? What do you suggest?
See,
What do we do? Because I agree with you. Our democracy is at stake.
is
It is at
you
stake.
know what? That's the question. And there's so many people have mentioned it. We talk about everything, but what do we do? Everybody can do something.
Vote for
Everybody
one.
can't run for office. Everybody can't be on a podcast, but everybody can do something. Talk to your neighbor, help somebody, lift somebody up.
Speaking
Um,
of which, speaking of
you
which,
know, our silence is what really is speaking louder than what we're doing. Because see, How many people know who their senators and uh, representatives are?
Mm-hmm.
How many people know who their state representative and senators are? How many people know who their governors are and what they are doing? No, we have gotten to the place of complacency where we think, oh, well, I can complain and complain and complain, but what are you doing? Do you know what's happening in your neighborhood? Do you know what's happening in your do you know what's happening in your city? Who your mayor? We are
Yes.
not doing now. I work, well, I don't say work. I volunteer with VFW and the DAV. And I know there's people in there who have totally different ideas than me. But we work together to help the veterans. And we never ask a veteran, are you a Republican, a Democrat, or independent? Do you vote for and do this? We just help people. We say, what do we need to help the next person? What do we need to help my fellow man? What do I need to help my community? What do I need to help my country? That's the question we ask. And when we come together on a situation, we work on it. Now, I'm like you. There's a mentality that's spreading through this country right now that's dividing us, and we are allowing that to happen. And we are so tunnel vision, one sided, that we are speaking and creating our own downfall.
Yes.
And if we don't open up our minds and try to realize the true reality of life itself, we're digging our own grave,
Yes.
per se, literally and
And
physically, emotionally. And see, when you see
spiritually.
all of these things, because I'm saying, I say, I don't see why most black people aren't suffering from PTSD anyway, because we are on a constant strain, and not just black people, but we are on a constant strain of looking out, watching, trying to figure out what's going to happen.
And I mean, and I think most of us, I know even me, like if a police gets behind me, it triggers a sense of fear,
Yes.
and that is across the board. So when you talk about PST, I mean PTSD, post
PTSD.
PS, thank you. When you're talking about that, I mean, it's a constant in many of
Yeah,
our
it's
communities. It's a constant because
yes,
I mean, and our children. Oh my God, with all these shootings, how is it that our
yes,
kids are
yes,
not suffering from this in silence? In silence, because of all the things. I mean, love is the key. Love is the key. We've got to
mm,
start love, but before we can love anybody else, we gotta love
you
ourselves. We
have to love
gotta love
yourself.
ourselves. Love is the
Mm,
key. And that's the only way
yes,
we're going to change our society. That's the only way we're going to change our families. That's the only way we're going to turn this craziness around.
yes. You know, it is it is all I won't say almost, it's really shameful that when you see all of these mass shootings and you blame it on everything except the common denominator. What's the common denominator in every one of these shootings is the gun.
Yeah.
But we are so in love and cherish the gun so much that we'd rather see other people die than to remove it. Now, I'm
And
not
you
saying get
know,
rid of guns. My father had guns. My father had, even some of them that was wrapped up, maybe had tape wrapped around the handle or whatever, but he had a gun. Because, we had to hunt rabbits and sometimes, you know, but, I'm not saying take away your guns, but I'm saying, why do I need a military rifle? And some of us are just so, we are too spoiled. We're too arrogant and we're too privileged. And that's what's happening. We're afraid of losing our privilege. Well, not we, not me, but
right.
power. I want power.
Right. And
You know,
that's, I mean, it's all
people.
about power. It's all about greed. And you know, but there
Yes.
are countries. I met a young lady who is from Amsterdam, and she told me they don't have guns. Police don't even have
Right.
guns. Only
Right.
special forces have guns. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can live in a society without guns. We not, I mean, I realize people are, I want my guns and all this. I mean, I don't own one and I don't necessarily want one, but we can do with, just think. If we were to lay aside our guns and start treating people the way we want to be treated and start showing, now I realize for people that are hunting and those kinds of things, okay, get a gun to shoot animals, not people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, uh, I digress. Yeah, we need a change of heart.
We need a
We do.
change of heart. Yes,
Change
we
of
got to
heart.
get back.
Man, we don't have enough people who with the courage. See, finally, every once in a while, you see somebody stand up and say something, and we're letting the few evil people win,
And they don't
and
have to.
we need to do better. We
We
need
got to
we
do
can do
better.
so much better. We get up off our assets and go and do what we need to do. We need to start voting. Look at what for us vote, and the ones who don't vote, what are they saying? They're running them out. What? Don't talk to me. Did you do your duty? You are a
Yes,
citizen of this country. Get your
absolutely.
tail up there and vote. Find out about what's happening in your neighborhood,
Well, one
and
thing's
go
for
and do something
sure.
about it.
One thing's for sure. If we don't vote in this next election in November, if we don't vote, we are truly putting our
Doom.
democracy in jeopardy. We see what's happening. It's obvious. People don't care. I mean, it's blatant. It's like
Yeah, I
in your
told you. I
face.
mean,
In your
they're
face.
telling you. Yeah.
Yes. In your
And what you
face.
like Bill Madison say, what are you gonna do about it?
What are
Don't
you
come to
going to
me and
do?
whisper, whining and stuff. What are you gonna do about it?
Yes, let's see. Let me see what our audience is saying. Diane says hatred. Hatred is what kills. Hatred is what
Yeah,
kills. And then she says, it seems no one cares. They believe in dog eat dog with a crab in a barrel mentality. We got to get past that. Our democracy is
yeah,
at stake, people. I mean, this is no
yeah.
joke. We see what they're doing. I mean, now I'm telling you, no one should be in control of any person's body. No one. Who has the right to tell somebody how to deal with their body? That is between them and their God. You know what I'm saying? Who, in my
Yeah.
opinion, you want to do these things to women? What if we required men to have vasectomies? What if that was mandatory? What would happen then?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How dare you want to control a woman's body? How dare you? I'm sorry. This stuff just really, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's been some sad and harrowing situations with people's health.
yes,
You
it's a
know, news
health
about
issue.
the woman
Oh
had a
my,
miscarriage and they can't and they can't do anything. That's
that's crazy.
without her dying.
That
That's
is
pitiful.
crazy. It's
Yeah. So
crazy. It really is. And Diane, she says, no one, no one. I mean, I'm
yeah.
telling you, if we don't get out here, if we don't vote, if we don't exercise our right and our democracy ends up no longer existing, don't sit
Right.
back and
Exactly.
complain. Like you said, we did
Yep.
it to ourselves. There's too many of us to allow the minority.
Like too many of us doing nothing,
We got to
saying
do
nothing.
something. We got to do,
Yep.
I mean, this is passionate stuff. I mean, and young
Yep.
people, and those of you that are turning 18, register, vote. I'm telling you, we are in a critical, critical, critical state. I'm sorry. I don't mean, and I know you now, we've got 4 minutes left of this show. Okay.
Oh. No.
So I am going to shut up because this is, I mean, and I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to let you share a
Okay.
couple more poems and then we're going to close it out.
Yeah. That's why I don't like to get on this soapbox, but sometimes you just have to.
Yes.
This my third book is God's Blessing, my Jamaican gem, and it's dedicated to my wife now, Audrey, Audrey Grant. And the poem I'm going to read is called "Give Me My Oscar." And I was thinking about how we all play a part. Who was it said? And was it Shakespeare said, "The whole world's a stage. Everybody
Yes.
plays his part." But I wrote it from the aspect, from the perspective of a person suffering from PTSD, and it's just a. I like to look at my poems as a slice of life that's happening right now. And then what we do about this slice of life is how do we handle it? What happened? How do we handle it? How do we get out of it? How do we move forward and so forth? And this one has to do with the Give Me My Oscar. And, we playing our part on this stage of life. They pass by my house at night and see the light in my window, but they don't know my pain and my plight, that it's a candle burning behind the window shade, sitting on the window sill because the monies that I recently made were not enough to pay my electric bill.
Mm.
So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy because I paid my dues. Okay, so there's a smile on my face sometimes, but my heart is crushed and my soul is singing the blues. So don't you see? There's no better actor than me. So give me my Oscar and my Tony and my Grammy too.
Awesome.
Now she was everything, my sole reason to live, and everything that I had to her, I was willing to give. I gave her my heart and my love, my soul. She took them and just crushed them, and lo and behold, while attempting to cover up my heartbreak's demise, I lost control of my emotions. Till I laughed. I laughed till I cried. So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy because I paid my dues. Okay, so I smile sometimes, but my heart is crushed and my soul is singing the blues. So don't you see, there's no better actor than me. So give me my Oscar and my Tony and my Grammy too. Yeah, I high five the mail carrier every day that he comes by. He high fives me back and gives me a sigh because I'm always waiting there next to the mailbox. There's no sole in my shoes, so I'm standing there in my socks. But he chats with me for a short while, because he knows that my agonies continue to prevail, and the both of us know that all he's delivering is bills and junk mail. So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award. But I'm still looking and seeking for a tiny bit of hope. I'm trying many different therapies in hope that I will cope. While they're asking me, are you some kind of a jerk? Why did you jump on your boss at work? So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award. Now, this PTSD won't let me live a normal life, nor be a normal friend. So I crawl into my foxhole in my bedroom or my den, to live out there until my end, with nothing to give, no reason to live, nothing to lose, and nothing to win. So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy, because I paid my dues. Okay, you see me smiling sometime, but my heart is crushed and my soul is singing the blues. Now, can't you see that there's no better actor than me? So give me my Oscar and my Tony and my Grammy too. The one thing that I ask while employing this task of living and giving is give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy too. Thank you.
I love it. 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 And you deserve an Oscar, a Grammy, and a Tony too. And may those things come to you.
Oh,
Yes. Well, listen,
yes,
we are out of time. I do appreciate you having come. And I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. And I hope our listening audience has as well. And so with that, and I'm going to ask you to don't go anywhere, okay? I'm going to close this out and then I'm going to come back and talk to you.
Okay,
so,
we'll do.
All right. Thank you, listening audience, for being here today. And we will see you next week.
The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. Let's talk about